Hannah Smith Blake lived a quiet and solitary life in a suburb of Los Angeles. After a failed marriage that lasted only 6 months, she spent 2 years without getting into a serious relationship. She had a stable but lonely routine working at the local city hall. She had resigned herself to solitude, thinking that true love might not be for her. Hannah was an attractive woman with wavy brown hair, piercing blue eyes, and a proud stance hiding deep sadness. She spent her days buried in reports and documents and her nights at home, watching TV shows and tending to her plants. On a spring morning, during a community event at the city's Central Park, fate changed her life forever. The event was an animal adoption fair organized by the City Hall. Hannah was there to represent the Community Services Department. While talking to some residents, she noticed a tall, handsome man standing near the adoption booth. He was playing with a small dog, smiling warmly, which awakened something inside her. "Good morning," Hannah said, approaching him with a professional but genuine smile. "Good morning," he replied, looking up and returning the smile. "My name is Fabian. I'm thinking about adopting a dog." "I'm Hannah. I work at the City Hall," she said, extending her hand. He shook her hand firmly but gently. "The dogs here are great. They all need a good home." Fabian continued playing with the dog, and Hannah grew curious about him. They talked about dogs, work, and life in the city. Time passed quickly, and they were laughing like old friends before they knew it. "Are you from here, Fabian?" Hannah asked, trying to disguise her growing personal interest. "Yes, but I've been away for many years. I recently came back. And you, Hannah? It seems like you've lived here for a long time." "My whole life," she replied. "There's not much to say about it." "I doubt that," he said, his eyes sparkling. "You seem to have many interesting stories." The conversation continued, and at the end of the event, Fabian said goodbye, but not without asking for Hannah's phone number. "I'd love to continue this conversation," he said, and Hannah felt her heart race. In the days that followed, Fabian and Hannah started meeting regularly. Each meeting was a discovery, a new reason to smile. Fabian was separated and had 2 teenage children, Mark and Lisa, who lived with their mother. He had returned to the city to reconnect with his children and rebuild his life. Hannah admired Fabian's dedication to his family, which made her feel safe and respected. During a romantic candlelit dinner at a cozy restaurant, Fabian took Hannah's hand and looked deeply into her eyes. "Hannah, I know we've only been together for a short time, but I feel like I've known you my whole life. You've brought a light into my life that I thought I'd never see again." Hannah felt tears forming in her eyes. "I feel the same way, Fabian. You've made me believe in love again." Their relationship blossomed, and less than a year later, Fabian proposed to Hannah during a picnic in the same park where they had met. "Hannah Smith Blake, will you marry me and spend the rest of your life by my side?" he asked, kneeling and holding out a diamond ring. "Yes, Fabian, 1,000 times, yes," she exclaimed, throwing herself into his arms. On September 9th, they married in an intimate ceremony with friends and family. The love they shared was palpable, radiating joy and hope. The days following the wedding were filled with laughter, plans for the future, and a happiness that Hannah never thought possible again. Life seemed perfect. Fabian was loving and attentive, bringing a sparkle to Hannah's eyes. He made her feel unique and loved, something she thought she would never experience again. Fabian had a stable job at a security company, and life was going perfectly for both of us. However, their happiness was about to be challenged in unimaginable ways. Fate had cruel plans for the couple, and Hannah would need all her strength and love to face the challenges ahead. After the wedding, Hannah and Fabian's life continued in a state of happiness that seemed almost perfect. They had moved to a charming country house on the outskirts of Los Angeles, a place that offered the tranquility and space they both had always desired. The couple spent weekends exploring trails, tending to the garden, and dreaming about the future. One day, Fabian came home with a surprise. He was carrying a tiny kitten with big, curious eyes. "Look what I found, Hannah," he said, smiling. "He was abandoned near my workplace." Hannah was delighted. "He's adorable. Let's name him Alfred," she suggested. Alfred quickly became the center of attention in the house. His playful and affectionate demeanor brought even more joy to Hannah and Fabian's home. Everything seemed perfect, but a shadow was about to fall over them. Fabian worked at a security company that kept a pit bull named Shock. The dog was known for its ferocity and was kept in a cage during the day, released only at night to patrol the area. Fabian had always been careful when dealing with Shock, but the unexpected happened on a fateful morning. Fabian left for work as usual, kissing Hannah before leaving. "I'll be back for dinner, love," he said with a smile. Hours later, Hannah was at home when the phone rang. It was a call from Fabian, but something was wrong. The voice on the other end was weak and full of pain. "Hannah, the dog. He got me," Fabian said, his voice broken by groans. Hannah's heart raced. "What do you mean, he got you? Fabian, where are you?" "Shock. He attacked me. I'm at the hospital," he replied before the call dropped. Desperate, Hannah grabbed her keys and drove to the hospital as quickly as she could. When she arrived, a nurse greeted her with a worried look. "Mrs. Blake, I'm not sure if you want to see your husband in this state," said the nurse. "I need to see him. He's my husband," insisted Hannah, her voice firm despite her fear. Entering the room, what Hannah saw took her breath away. Fabian was lying in the bed, covered in blood and with deep wounds all over his body. He was torn up, and Shock's bites had caused severe damage. The sight was horrible, but Hannah remained strong. "Fabian, I'm here," she said, holding his hand. He opened his eyes and tried to smile. "I'll be fine, love," he said with effort. "They're going to take care of me." The doctors informed Hannah that Fabian had lost the tip of one of his fingers and suffered dozens of bites all over his body. They also warned of the risk of infection due to the bacteria in the dog's teeth. Fabian underwent several surgeries and was hospitalized for weeks. Hannah took a leave of absence from work to care for him, dedicating entirely to her husband's recovery. Despite the trauma, Fabian eventually was discharged from the hospital, although the physical and emotional scars were deep. He was compensated by the company and retired due to the injuries. Seeking a fresh start, the couple decided to move to a more tranquil and secluded country house. Fabian was gradually recovering. He still felt pain, and his movements were limited, but his determination and Hannah's constant support made a difference. Alfred's presence also helped lift their spirits. The kitten seemed to know when Fabian needed comfort, snuggling up to him and purring softly. One night, while they were sitting on the porch enjoying the sunset, Fabian held Hannah's hand and said, "I don't know what I would do without you, Hannah. You've been my rock." "We're a team, Fabian. I'll always be here for you, just as you've always been for me," replied Hannah, squeezing his hand affectionately. However, the shadow of the attack still hung over them. Fabian had frequent nightmares about the incident, waking up in the middle of the night, sweating and panting. Hannah was always there to comfort him, but she knew emotional recovery would be extended. One day, while at home caring for Alfred, Hannah received a call from Fabian's company. It was the manager asking to speak with her urgently. "Mrs. Blake, we need to discuss some details about Fabian's compensation," he said. "Can we schedule a meeting for tomorrow?" "Of course, I'll be there," replied Hannah, feeling a knot in her stomach. At the meeting, the manager explained that, in addition to financial compensation, the company wanted to offer psychological support for Fabian. "We understand that the trauma is not just physical. We want to ensure that Fabian receives all the help he needs to recover fully." Hannah was relieved and grateful for the offer. "Thank you. This means a lot to us." With psychological support and Hannah and Alfred's constant presence, Fabian began to show signs of improvement. He started taking short walks with Hannah, appreciating the nature around the country house. Each step, no matter how small, was a victory. "We're making progress, love," said Hannah during one of these walks. "One day at a time." Fabian smiled, feeling more hopeful. "Yes, and with you by my side, I know I can face anything." Fabian's recovery was slow, but he was determined to keep moving forward. With Hannah and Alfred by his side, he found the strength to continue, believing that, despite the scars, there was a bright future ahead. The country house became a refuge for Hannah, Fabian, and Alfred. The property was surrounded by tall trees and open fields, providing a serene and isolated setting perfect for Fabian's recovery. Each day, he seemed to get a bit stronger, and the constant presence of Hannah and Alfred reminded him of the love and support he had around him. Fabian still dealt with occasional pain and limited mobility, but he found solace in the small joys of life in the country house. He spent hours tending to the garden, planting flowers and vegetables while Alfred roamed around, chasing butterflies and exploring every corner of the yard. "You know, Hannah," Fabian said one day while tending to the plants, "this place really brings me peace. I don't think I would have found this tranquility without you." Hannah smiled, placing her hand over his. "I'm glad you feel that way, Fabian. This is our home, our sanctuary." Their relationship flourished with the same vitality as the plants in the garden. They began to appreciate the simple, quiet moments more, and their bond grew stronger each day. Fabian's physical scars were a constant reminder of what they had been through. Still, they also symbolized their strength and resilience as a couple. One morning, while they were having coffee on the porch, Fabian mentioned an idea he had been mulling over for some time. "Hannah, I've been thinking, what if we adopted a few more animals? We have so much space here, and it could be good for us." Hannah loved the idea. "I think that's wonderful, Fabian. It would be great to have more company here. Let's go to the local shelter and see what we can find." That afternoon, they visited a nearby animal shelter. The place was full of dogs and cats, all needing a home. Fabian and Hannah walked among the cages, talking to the staff and meeting the animals. They adopted a friendly dog named Max and a shy cat named Lily. Max and Lily joined Alfred, forming a small family of four-legged companions that brought even more joy to the country house. Max was energetic and protective, always running around the yard and keeping watch over the property. On the other hand, Lily was calm and affectionate, preferring to cuddle beside Hannah while she read a book or watched a movie. The days passed quickly, and life in the country house became a pleasant and comforting routine. Hannah continued to work remotely for the city hall, while Fabian dedicated himself to daily tasks and his recovery. He started attending regular physical therapy sessions and psychological counseling, as recommended by the company, and slowly regained his strength and confidence. One afternoon, while they were sitting on the porch watching the sunset, Fabian held Hannah's hand and said, "I never could have gotten through all of this without you. You are my strength, my light." Hannah squeezed his hand, moved. "We are a team, Fabian. We always have been and always will be." Despite the peace and happiness they found in the country house, the trauma of Shock's attack still haunted Fabian. He had frequent nightmares, reliving the attack in his mind. In the middle of the night, he would wake up sweating and gasping for breath, and Hannah was always there to comfort him, holding him until he calmed down. One day, during a therapy session, Fabian talked about the nightmares and anxiety he still felt. "I know I'm getting better physically, but sometimes it feels like I'll never be able to get past what happened." The therapist, a kind and experienced man, listened attentively. Fabian, what you went through was extremely traumatic. It will take time for you to recover completely, both physically and emotionally. The important thing is to recognize your progress and continue to seek support. You have a wonderful wife and a new life here. Use that as a foundation for your recovery. Fabian returned home feeling a bit more hopeful. He knew the journey was still long, but he was determined to keep moving forward with Hannah by his side. As the months passed, the routine in the country house became a constant source of comfort and stability. Fabian and Hannah found a harmonious rhythm, caring for the animals, the garden, and most importantly, each other. They knew that they were building something beautiful and enduring together despite the scars and challenges. Then, on a cold autumn morning, he felt a sharp pain in his groin while Fabian was chopping wood for the fireplace. "Hannah!" he called out, trying not to alarm her. "I think I've hurt myself." Hannah rushed to him, concerned. "What happened?" "I'm not sure," Fabian said, rubbing the painful area. "It feels like a muscle pull, but it hurts a lot." They decided to monitor the pain, hoping it would pass. But as the days went by, the pain persisted, and a small lump began to form in the painful area. Initially, Fabian tried not to worry, thinking it might just be an ingrown hair or an inflamed pimple. However, as the days passed, the lump didn't go away. On the contrary, it seemed to grow and become firmer. Hannah noticed the concern in Fabian's eyes, even though he tried to hide it. "Fabian, I think we should go to the doctor," she said one evening while they were preparing dinner together. "That lump doesn't seem normal." "Maybe you're right," Fabian replied, trying to stay calm. "I'll make an appointment tomorrow." Fabian went to the doctor the next day, where he was thoroughly examined. The doctor initially suspected it might be a hernia or infection, but recommended several tests. "Let's run some tests and see what we find," said the doctor, trying to reassure Fabian. The results of the initial tests were inconclusive. The lump grew and Fabian began to develop a mild fever. "Hannah, this is starting to worry me," he confessed one night while they rested in the living room, Alfred curled up in his lap. "I don't know what's happening, but something isn't right." "We'll find out, Fabian," Hannah replied, holding his hand firmly. "I'm here with you, no matter what happens." The pain and fever began to interfere with Fabian's daily activities. He had difficulty tending to the garden and the animals. Hannah took on many responsibilities, always ensuring that Fabian rested as much as possible. Concerned, she accompanied him to several medical appointments, trying to find answers to his condition. After weeks of tests and appointments, Fabian was referred to a specialist who finally provided a diagnosis. "It appears we're dealing with a type of bacterial infection," explained the specialist. "We'll start with strong antibiotics and closely monitor the lump. If there's no improvement, we'll need to consider other possibilities." Fabian started the treatment, and both he and Hannah anxiously awaited any sign of improvement. However, the lump grew, and the pain did not subside. While Fabian was getting ready for another appointment one morning, he looked at Hannah. He said, "I'm starting to get scared, Hannah. I don't know how much more of this I can take." "We'll get through this together, Fabian," Hannah said, tears in her eyes. "You're strong, and we'll find a solution." Over the following weeks, Fabian underwent more tests, and the doctors began to consider the possibility that it might be something more serious than an infection. The lump was now the size of a lemon, and Fabian was in constant pain despite the painkillers. While Fabian was trying to rest one night, Hannah sat beside him on the bed. "I've done some research," she said hesitantly. "It seems that some severe infections can cause lumps like this, but there are other conditions we need to consider as well." Fabian looked at her, realizing how worried she was. "I know this has been hard for you too, Hannah. Thank you for being by my side." "You would do the same for me," she replied, holding his hand. "We'll keep fighting together. Days turned into weeks, and Fabian and Hannah continued to seek answers. Visits to the doctor became part of their routine, and each new appointment brought a mix of hope and fear. During one of these visits, a new doctor suggested a biopsy of the lump to get a more detailed analysis. The biopsy was scheduled for the following week. Fabian faced the procedure with courage, although the uncertainty weighed on him. "I'm ready for anything as long as we can find out what's going on," he said to Hannah as she held his hand before the procedure. "I know, love," Hannah replied, kissing him on the forehead. "We're almost there." The days following the biopsy were agonizing, with Fabian and Hannah waiting for the results. Finally, one morning, the phone rang. It was the doctor with the results. "Mr. Blake, we need you to come to the office to discuss the results in person," he said without revealing details. Fabian hung up the phone and looked at Hannah. "We have to go to the office tomorrow. They want to discuss the results in person." Hannah's face reflected the same concern Fabian felt. "We'll face this together, as always," she said, sounding confident. The next day, they sat in the waiting room of the doctor's office, holding hands, feeling the weight of uncertainty. The doctor greeted them with a severe expression when they were called in. "Mr. Blake, Mrs. Blake, the biopsy results showed something we need to discuss in detail," he began, as Fabian and Hannah prepared to hear the words that would change their lives forever. The office was silent, and Fabian and Hannah could hear their hearts beating. With a serious and compassionate expression, the doctor began to explain the results. "Mr. Blake, the lump in your groin is concerning. The biopsy revealed that it is a tumor, but we need more tests to determine its exact nature." Hannah squeezed Fabian's hand, trying to find the right words to offer comfort. "What do we need to do now, doctor?" she asked, her voice trembling slightly. "We need to refer you to an oncologist for further tests," the doctor replied. "They will conduct a series of tests to better understand the situation and determine the best course of treatment." The term oncologist fell like a stone in the hearts of Fabian and Hannah. The path ahead seemed uncertain and frightening, but they knew they had to face this new reality together. "We'll do whatever it takes," said Fabian, trying to keep his voice steady. Hannah held Fabian's hand tightly. "We're in this together," she said, looking deeply into his eyes. "We'll get through this together." The following days were a race against time. Fabian began chemotherapy sessions, facing the side effects with courage and determination. Hannah was by his side every step of the way, taking care of him and offering the unconditional support he needed. Despite the difficulties, there were moments of hope and joy. Alfred, Max, and Lily provided comfort and distraction, their presence bringing a bit of normalcy to Fabian and Hannah's lives. They tried maintaining a routine, finding small joys in daily activities and shared moments. While they were resting on the porch one afternoon, Fabian looked at Hannah and said, "I never imagined our life would take this turn, but I couldn't imagine facing this with anyone else by my side." "I feel the same," Hannah replied, holding his hand. "We'll keep fighting, one day at a time." Fabian's treatment was intense and often debilitating, but he remained resilient. Hannah organized everything at home, ensuring he had everything to feel comfortable. They began valuing each moment together, knowing each day was a victory. As the months passed, Fabian and Hannah continued to face the battle against cancer with courage and love. The path was arduous, but their bond grew stronger with each challenge overcome. Together, they found the strength to keep going, keeping hope alive in their hearts. Fabian endured the chemotherapy sessions with determination, even when the side effects were severe. Hannah was always by his side, holding his hand during appointments and encouraging him every step of the way. The constant presence of their pets also provided comfort and joy amidst the difficulties. One morning, Fabian woke up with a strange feeling. He noticed that the lump seemed smaller and the pain was more manageable. "Hannah, I think the chemotherapy is working," he said, hopeful. Hannah smiled, her eyes shining with tears of happiness. "That's wonderful, Fabian. We'll keep fighting. We're winning this battle." Fabian continued his chemotherapy sessions, maintaining hope despite the challenges. The chemotherapy had its ups and downs. Some days were better, but Fabian always found strength in Hannah and the small moments of joy at home. Alfred, Max, and Lily became essential to this journey, providing distraction and comfort. The side effects of the chemotherapy began to manifest more intensely. Fabian experienced nausea, extreme fatigue, and loss of appetite. On some days, he could barely get out of bed. Hannah was there every moment, preparing light and nutritious meals, encouraging him to eat and stay hydrated. "Come on, love, just a little more soup," Hannah would say, holding a bowl. "You need to keep your strength up." "I know," Fabian would respond, forcing a smile. "Thank you for always being here, Hannah." Despite the physical challenges, the news that the tumor was shrinking gave Fabian and Hannah a new boost. Every small victory was celebrated with enthusiasm. When the doctor informed them that the illness had reduced enough to consider surgery, hope was renewed. "Fabian, we're seeing significant progress," Dr. Bennett said in an appointment. "We can now consider surgery to remove the remaining tumor." Fabian and Hannah looked at each other, feeling relief and apprehension. "Let's do it," Fabian said with determination. "I'm ready for the surgery." The date was set, and the house was filled with preparation and anticipation in the days leading up to the procedure. Hannah organized everything, ensuring that Fabian would have everything he needed for post-surgery recovery. Alfred seemed to sense the tension in the air, staying close to Fabian more than ever. "You are a warrior, Fabian," Hannah said the night before the surgery. "And no matter what happens, I'm here with you." "I don't know what I would do without you, Hannah," Fabian replied, holding her lovingly. "You are my strength." On the day of the surgery, Hannah accompanied Fabian to the hospital, staying strong for him. When they took him to the operating room, she felt a wave of anxiety. Still, she reminded herself that she needed to be the rock for Fabian, just as he had always been for her. The hours that followed were the longest of Hannah's life. She sat in the waiting room, wringing her hands and praying everything would go well. Finally, Dr. Bennett appeared with a reassuring smile. "The surgery was a success," he announced. "We were able to remove the entire tumor. Fabian will need time to recover, but the prognosis is positive." Fabian spent precious time with Alfred, petting him and talking to him as if they were at home. It was a moment of tenderness and love, a refuge amidst the storm. When it was time to take Alfred back, Fabian held Hannah's hand and said, "Thank you, love. This means so much to me." When they returned home that night, Hannah felt a mix of emotions. She was grateful for having fulfilled Fabian's wish, but the fear of what would come still weighed heavily on her heart. In the following days, Fabian's condition worsened. He was admitted to the hospital again, this time in palliative care. The doctors did everything they could to keep him comfortable, but the illness was progressing rapidly. Hannah spent every moment by Fabian's side, holding his hand and whispering words of love and comfort. One night, as the wind blew through the hospital windows, Fabian opened his eyes and looked at Hannah. "Love, it's okay. You can rest," Hannah said, her words broken by tears. "I will always love you." Fabian smiled faintly and closed his eyes, holding Hannah's hand until his last breath. He passed away peacefully, surrounded by the love that had defined his life. Hannah stayed by his side for a long time, processing the loss and the pain. Although Fabian had passed, she knew their love would continue to live in her heart. In the days that followed, Hannah organized Fabian's funeral with the help of friends and family. It was a simple and beautiful ceremony, a celebration of the life of a man who had touched many hearts. After the funeral, Hannah returned to the country house with Alfred, Max, and Lily. The memories of Fabian were in every corner. Still, instead of only feeling sadness, Hannah found strength in the memories of their shared happy moments. To honor Fabian's memory and help cope with her loss, Hannah decided to create a YouTube channel called My Life with Alfred. She began sharing her experiences and her journey with Fabian, finding solace in connecting with others who had also faced similar challenges. In the first video, Hannah sat on her porch, Alfred in her lap, and looked at the camera with a sad but determined smile. "Hello, I'm Hannah. I want to share the story of a great love and the journey I went through with my husband, Fabian. I hope my story can bring comfort and inspiration to those who need it." The video was met with an outpouring of love and support. People worldwide shared their own stories of loss and remembrance, creating a network of empathy and connection that helped Hannah feel less alone in her journey. After Fabian's passing, the country house became a place of introspection for Hannah. The memories were everywhere, but instead of avoiding the pain, she decided to face them head-on. Her days were filled with the comforting presence of Alfred, Max, and Lily, who seemed to understand the depth of her loss. Hannah continued to live, honoring Fabian's memory and finding new ways to celebrate life. She took up new hobbies, like painting and writing, which helped her express her emotions and find peace. The garden, which she and Fabian had lovingly tended, became a sanctuary where she could reflect and find solace. One day, while working in the garden, Hannah found a small box buried under one of the flower beds. Curious, she opened it and found a letter from Fabian. In his familiar handwriting, he had written, "My dearest Hannah, if you're reading this, it means that I'm no longer with you in person, but my love for you is eternal. I wanted to leave you this letter to remind you of the incredible love we shared and to encourage you to keep living your life to the fullest. You are the strongest, most beautiful person I've ever known, and I know you will continue to shine even in my absence. Take care of our beloved pets, tend to our garden, and find joy in the small moments. Remember, I'll always be with you in spirit. With all my love, Fabian." Hannah held the letter close to her heart, tears streaming down her face. Fabian's words gave her a sense of peace and a renewed determination to live her life with the same love and strength they had shared. Years passed, and Hannah's YouTube channel grew, reaching thousands of people who found comfort and inspiration in her story. She continued to honor Fabian's memory through her videos, her art, and her everyday life. Hannah found joy in her friends and family, and the love she and Fabian had shared became a guiding light in her life. The country house remained a place of peace and reflection, a testament to the love story that had transformed her life. In the end, Hannah realized that love never truly dies. It lives on in the hearts of those who remember, in the memories shared, and in the lives touched. And as she looked out over the garden they had built together, she knew that Fabian's love would always be a part of her, guiding her through the rest of her days. We've reached the end of this exciting journey, and we want to know your opinion. What did you think of Hannah and Fabian's story? Was it touching for you? A profoundly impactful moment was when Fabian fulfilled his last wish to see Alfredo one previous time. What did you think of that part of the story? How would you feel if you were in Hannah's place? Remember to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with your friends and family. The boss gave his beautiful secretary a ride. Little did he know that his life would change forever. Click on the video that is appearing on your screen now and watch this story.